Hello, in this latest NVentures presentation, I'll provide an overview of the present and future upstream opportunities across APAC. The key theme running through this presentation is that APAC is increasingly becoming a gas and energy security story. In many cases, the challenge is no longer finding hydrocarbons, but finding a commercially viable route to market. This map highlights the areas available for farming. There are around 140 known or suspected farming opportunities. As part of this presentation, I carried out a high-level screening exercise based on commercial risk. It's worth stressing that this isn't a definitive ranking. A project can move quickly between categories. For example, a frontier gas discovery may initially look high risk, but the addition of nearby infrastructure or a strategic gas buyer can materially improve the commercial outlook. Likewise, a technically straightforward project can become higher risk if fiscal terms or market access are uncertain. Low risk includes mature basins on and offshore, near infrastructure and brownfield or redevelopment projects. Examples are in several basins in Australia, such as onshore Cooper Basin and the onshore South Sumatra Basin in Indonesia. Medium risk covers attributes such as frontier extensions, gas monetisation and fault belt geology. Areas include Western Australia and onshore Papua New Guinea. High risk can include ultra-deep water, high cost, frontier unconventional, and political risk. Examples are deep-water Andaman Sea and Vietnam and untested parts of the Beetaloo Basin in the Northern Territory. Perhaps the most important finding from this exercise is that many opportunities are no longer constrained by geology. Commercial factors such as gas pricing, market access, infrastructure, and fiscal terms increasingly determine whether a project succeeds. Moving on to bid rounds. Indonesia and Malaysia continue to drive regional licensing activity. Indonesia promotes the most blocks in the region with 2 to 3 bid rounds annually over the past few years. Malaysia has been very successful with consistent annual rounds. These include a mix of mature opportunities and remaining underexplored areas such as East Sabah. In Thailand, the government signalled renewed offshore interest and announced a large Andaman Sea block in December 2025. However, an official launch is still pending. Vietnam activity remains slow. Block 17 has been reopened recently. However, it failed to attract bids previously when launched in a 2-block bid round in 2025. Commerciality and fiscal attractiveness remain concerns. So what we're seeing across the region is governments becoming increasingly pragmatic. Rather than focusing on exploration activity, they're looking at how discoveries can be commercialised and can contribute to domestic energy security. In many cases, that is leading to more flexible fiscal terms and greater willingness to engage directly with investors. Unlike Indonesia and Malaysia, where the focus remains on exploration-led growth, Australia and New Zealand's policy shift is being driven largely by concerns around future domestic gas supply. In Australia, onshore bid rounds have been steady in recent years, but offshore all but stopped until recently. Domestic gas shortages are driving renewed licensing activity, with 5 bid rounds currently running. New South Wales has reopened acreage for the first time since 2014, targeting the Bankania and Pondy Range troughs in the far west of the state. Offshore activity is also returning, with the first Otway Basin bid round in 2 years closing last month, alongside recent nominations in the Gippsland and Bass Basins. In New Zealand, there is now an open acreage system which replaced moratorium-era restrictions last year. Momentum is improving, with 6 blocks currently in play, with 2 of those under negotiation prior to award. What's noticeable is that only a few years ago, parts of the region were moving away from exploration. Concerns around domestic gas supply and energy affordability have since reversed that direction. Policy settings are now increasingly focused on maintaining supply security through renewed upstream activity. To wrap up, I'll run through the future pipeline of opportunities. There are plenty of farming opportunities out there, only there are many that are not openly promoted. I'm sure there are lots of companies that would consider selling some of their interests if the investment fitted with their strategy. Papua New Guinea is reviewing fiscal reforms and transitioning towards a PSC framework with higher state participation. An offshore Gulf of Papua round remains possible later this year or in 2027. Timor-Leste is planning a bid round next year covering both offshore and onshore acreage. The government is renewing fiscal and contractual terms to make them more competitive, including revisions to PSCs and taxation. The Philippines recently had a successful bid round, but also maintains a nominated block framework, creating a steady pipeline of new exploration opportunities driven by industry interest. Meanwhile, Indonesia and Malaysia are expected to continue a steady flow of acreage offerings, although some of Malaysia's recent offerings appear to be repackaged acreage that was not awarded in previous bid rounds. And in Australia, while no further Commonwealth offshore acreage release has been formally announced, the recent nomination process for the Gippsland and Bass Basins points to additional offshore acreage being considered in the near term. The key takeaway is that APAC offers one of the most diverse opportunity sets globally, spanning low-risk, infrastructure-led developments through to frontier exploration. The winners are likely to be those who can identify projects where commercial and market risks are being reduced as quickly as geological risk. For companies seeking growth, whether through licensing rounds, farm-ins or direct negotiation, I expect APAC to be one of the most active and strategically important upstream regions over the coming years. Thank you for watching. If you'd like to find out about how we can help with exploration and intelligence and new ventures, please do get in touch.